those are your major storylines, but I think it's about time we got to the fantasy angle. And for that, we kick off Fantasy Buzz with our in-house fantasy expert, Pete Jensen. He's also the co-host of the Fantasy on Ice podcast, which you can find each and every week anywhere you get your podcasts. All right, Pete, I know it's only day 2 of this season, but let's talk waiver wire picks. Who do you like?
Yeah, Niels Höglander from the Vancouver Canucks made a big impact, scored his first NHL goal, had 3 shots on goal, and was +2. And he was playing on the second line, a really good spot after the departure of Tyler Toffoli in the offseason. He was playing with Bo Horvat and Tanner Pearson. Bo Horvat was a stud in the playoffs, scored double-digit goals as the Canucks made some noise. So I think Jim Benning, definitely before training camp when I spoke to him, he was really ecstatic about this player's ceiling and thought he really had, even though he was a middle tier pick last year in the draft. Like, he really had a chance to make the roster here. And JT Miller's out now, so he's on the first power play unit. That might eventually end, but he could actually stick in a top 6 role for the entire season for Vancouver.
All right, well, we just went through each and every game with the boys here in studio, but you've got lots of options for daily fantasy picks with all the games on the slate. So where are you looking for some value here?
Well, there's definitely an opportunity to spend up for Sebastian Aho. It's a ripe matchup against the Detroit Red Wings, who were the worst team in the league last year. And the Hurricanes have a chance to feast on some of these teams like Detroit, like, of course, the Chicago Blackhawks, who had a rough debut last night. They have a chance to feast. Whether or not he's playing Sebastian Aho on a line with Andrei Svechnikov at even strength, I'm not too concerned about that. I think he's going to have a multi-point game here. I think he's worth spending up for in DFS. And he's still with Teuvo Teravainen, his other sidekick, and he's going to be with Svechnikov and Dougie Hamilton on power play 1 for a team that I think can maybe compete with the Lightning for the Central Division title this year. Rookie making his debut for the Minnesota Wild, long-awaited debut, I should say, Kirill Kaprizov. He's playing on the top line with Zach Parise and Nick Bjugstad. So I think Kaprizov has a very high goal ceiling. I have him as a top 3 Calder pick this year, and I think he's underrated in fantasy circles. In DFS, you could still get him for a very, very low price. Now, Erik Karlsson is playing his first game for the Sharks in 11 months. You believe that? I mean, Erik Karlsson is an elite defenseman of old. Even when he's been healthy over the past 2 seasons for the Sharks, ranks 7th in points per game among defensemen. I expect him to have a big breakthrough game in his return to the lineup for the Sharks. Favorable opponent against the Arizona Coyotes. So get all over this trend. DFS or whatever you're doing out there. I think that the Columbus Blue Jackets for sure are appealing here on the road in Nashville. If you notice, I don't really care that all these guys are on the road because there are no fans. So, yeah, I think that Korpisalo has a great opportunity here to beat the Predators. Korpisalo was amazing in the playoffs through 9 games, .941 save percentage and 2 shutouts. It's going to be him and Merzlikins as a top 5 goalie tandem in the NHL. That's based on our fantasy goalie tandem rankings, which is a new thing we're doing here because it's a condensed season. It's weird circumstances. But yeah, Korpisalo I really like in this spot against the Predators, who are offensively challenged at many different points over the past few years. And then sleeper of the night, Jack Studnicka is going to be playing on the top line right wing spot, usually occupied by David Pastrnak, but he's still out of the lineup for the season opener after a couple of off-season surgeries. Studnicka was tied for 12th in AHL scoring last year, but man, his ceiling on a single game basis could be very high, playing with Patrice Bergeron and Brad Marchand, who had a surgery of his own, sports hernia surgery in the offseason, but he, it sounds like, will be ready for opening night. So you got the 2-headed monster and then Studnicka kind of under the radar, bottom of the barrel in terms of salary in DFS, could really break the bank here for your DFS squad.